All right, this is a fun problem. We have Will who's making the big salary, way more than Diana. Let's find out exactly how much Will earns, okay? So this is going to be a situation where you want to use two variables. You're going to be thinking, well, I could let Will be W and I could let Diana be D, right? But you can't solve the equation if you use two different variables. So we're going to have to find two expressions that use the same variable somehow. And the key is right here. Okay, right there. So Will earned. This verb right here is where we usually find is, and that's where the equals goes. Earned is the same as equals. Usually you put that right where the verb in the sentence is, unless it's is greater than or is less than, and use those symbols instead. Okay, so Will equals 25 more than. Okay, so what I like to do when I hear that kind of stuff is I leave a space and I put plus 25 at the end so that I get 25 more than something. Okay, 25 more than twice the amount that Diana earned. So let's use this for Diana and say 2 times that. So 2 times D looks like 2D. So Will earned 2D plus 25 if D is what Diana earned. Okay, we're going to use this side of the equation to represent Will instead of this side, so that what we have is D for Diana and 2D plus 25 for Will. Okay, so variable expressions for Will, we're going to say 2D plus 25, and for Diana we're going to just use D. Okay, so the equation comes from this. Together, so that means sum, together they earned 571. So the equation's going to be adding them together makes 571. Okay, so you want to take the expression for Will, which is 2D plus 25, and the expression for Diana, which is just D. If you add them together, you get 571. Okay? So now we can solve it. So if we have 2D plus 25 plus D equals 571. Okay, when you add those together, you get 3D plus 25 equals 571. All right, I want to subtract 25 from both sides. And do subtraction. Okay, so 3 times D is 546. Let's divide them both by 3. So D is equal to 182. That means that's what Diana makes, and to find out how much Will makes, you're going to substitute this number right here instead of D. So let's do that. So for Will, we get 2 times 182 plus 25 more. And that is, let's see, we get 416, carry the 1, $364 here, plus 25 more. Okay, final answer. Will makes $389, and that is what we were solving for. Always go back to the original problem and make sure you answered the question. It says, how much did Will earn? And so that is the answer, $389. Make sure you got a dollar sign. That's your unit for money. All right, pretty fancy stuff. Okay, we didn't have time for this one, so it'll come back on another session. But we did talk about this one at the live session. Alexia bought a $130 coat at a $20% discount. How much did she pay? Now, the traditional way is to multiply this to find the discount, but then you have to subtract the discount from 130 to find out how much she paid. There's a quicker way to do the problem, and we talked about that. Instead of doing a two-step problem, you can still do it with 2 steps, but the first step is a really easy one in your head if you think about this. If you take 100% of the current cost of the coat and you subtract 20% that's the discount, it'll tell you what percent she ultimately pays. She's going to pay 80% for the coat. So instead of focusing on the discount, let's focus on how much she needs to pay. She needs to pay 80%. So if you want to do a shortcut, what you do is multiply the price of the coat times what she will pay instead of what she will save. And that's a shorter process. So we don't really need that 0 because it's a decimal. We do need the other 0. So we've got this little decimal right there. So it looks like she's going to pay $104 for the coat, and there's your shortcut, is 80% instead of 20%. Basically, the reason this works is because we're still subtracting, but we do it first. So if you subtract the 20% from 100%, that's an easy mental math problem. Whereas if you do it the long way, first you multiply by 0.2, get an answer, and then subtract the answer from 100% of the price, which is 130. That's a little trickier to do in your head, so you have to do 2 full steps on paper. Whereas in this method, you do the first step in your head because it's based on easy percents. So it's a nice trick when you can use it. Okay, just to review, this is the list of things again that you need to do, and this is based on things that I see people make mistakes in the most often. And it's really a shame because I know these are things that you know how to do. It's just based on carelessness. So really pay attention. Show units. Don't forget that $ or feet or minutes in your final answer. Be careful when there's negatives in the problem that you do it correctly. Reduce your fraction answers. You will always lose points for not doing that. And be precise. Don't change things from fractions to decimals unless the instructions say to the nearest tenth or hundredth or something. And if that's the case, make sure that you round correctly according to the normal conventions for that. Okay? Don't forget our special rule for solving inequalities when you have to multiply or divide by a negative. And remember that if there's a negative in front of a variable or in front of parentheses, it means -1 outside. Okay? So all those things. Make sure you take the space you need to show your work on the test. Most people will probably choose to write right on the test, but if that's not enough room for you, feel free to use extra paper as long as you label the problems so that I can tell what you're doing. Okay? Because I just want you to get the score you deserve. So hope it goes great for everybody, and I will see you next week. Thanks.